Hello, you're watching Smart Money, and today we're talking future-proofing your golden years with an effective retirement plan, even if you've left the planning a little too late. Bridget Nkandu, who's Executive for Strategy and New Business Development for Consumer Banking at Nedbank, and Frank Magwegwe, who's Executive for Financial Wellness and Advisory at Nedbank, join us now with some practical and actionable advice to help put you on the right track toward retirement. And Frank, this is important because the fact is, statistics show that 90% of South Africans cannot afford to retire. But what does it actually mean to be able to afford to retire? And I guess directly linked to that is the age-old question, right? How much is enough?
Yeah, thank you, Alishia. Wow, what a powerful question. You know, that statistic, I've been in financial services for 27 years or so. And that statistic hasn't shifted at all, which is quite sad. So maybe to just start by unpacking what we actually mean when we say an individual retires and then they find themselves struggling. Or in other words, we talk of this, 1 in 10 who seem to be making the good decision. So what essentially we are saying there is South Africans who have been working hard for 30 years, for 40 years, when that last paycheck comes in and then they're formally retired, they are no longer able to maintain the lifestyle they are used to when they were working. In other words, they start being careful around medical expenses, travel expenses, food expenses, helping others, because suddenly they realize I might not have enough money. Kind of that picture, I think it's important to paint, and you can imagine the stress associated with that. Now, specifically coming to your question, I think you also right, Alishia, in that, how much is enough? The good thing, though, is we are able to calculate as financial professionals quite a good range, and a good rule of thumb, Alishia, is this. We simply say, by the time you retire, for you to be comfortable, you need to take the last paycheck, you take 75% of what you were earning, if you can have that for the remainder of your working life. So let's make it easy for South Africans. If you are netting 10,000 rand and you retire, from the following month, if you were able to have 7,500 every single month, you will be able to maintain your lifestyle. That's kind of what it means for me, Alishia.
Bridget, so let's home in then on the ability to turn things around. Have individuals nearing retirement, let's say as late as in their 50s, been able to successfully get things back on track and navigate their retirement planning if they seem to have, deviated or lost their way along the way?
So thank you. Great question. So, and Dr. Frank, I think great explanation there around, how do you ensure you retire effectively? So I really think there are several moves that South Africans in their 50s should be making to really maximize their retirement finances. A key one should be around continued saving and investing. So I think this is really important because what we know today is that people are living longer. So meaning if you're living longer, it means that you will live through your 80s and beyond. So you have to ensure that you have enough savings. And what it means also today is that there's improved healthcare and also better living conditions. That means that most of us really expect to live well, like I said, beyond 80 years. So while longevity is something to celebrate, especially if you are healthy enough to make the most of your golden years, you must really ensure that your money lasts longer. What I would say that besides investing, other notable moves should be around being free from significant debt, which really can reduce the financial pressure. Also having adequate enough insurance or saving to cover medical expenses, which can be substantial in retirement, and just having that emergency fund.
Okay, so those are the moves that need to be made. I've got to ask and reiterate, if you've left it too late, is it possible to, maneuvering the way that you have with the moves that you've just outlined, is it possible to get things back on track as late as in your last 10 years?
Yeah, so I think most definitely. And I think what's important is to start. So, and also have that mindset. Don't put yourself in a mindset of, I'm really late, because also anxiety is not what you need at the time. What is really important is stepping back, understanding your current scenario or current situation, ensuring that you seek guidance, and also then seek financial advice to plan, from where you are at and where you need to end up. I think I would like to emphasize that it's never, ever too late to start. What is important is starting.
Absolutely.
Alishia, maybe if I can build on that.
Yeah.
I think just one more point. Thank you, Bridget, for those beautiful points. I think one that is key for us to remind South Africans who find themselves in the situation that Alishia is talking about. So, Bridget, you spoke about, I'm just going to paraphrase, you speak about, almost kind of a brutal honest about my situation. Where am I because I'm starting a little bit late? I love that. Two, I accept it's never late. But what also is important is this idea of get financial help. Alishia, when someone has started late, it's very difficult for them just because of emotions, just because of being a little bit too involved in their own monies, to be able to navigate that without the help of others. The last one that we must all be honest about is, Alishia, this will require a change in lifestyle. Yeah. It's going to require someone to say, I accept I'm starting a little bit late. Let me look at my discretionary expenses. It could even be cutting down on those holidays. It could be cutting down on entertainment. In fact, we can just summarize as a person who finds them in the picture that Alishia is painting has to, I'm going to put it in quotes, I don't want to be in trouble with our wonderful South Africans here, downgrade their lifestyle if they are going to make it.
Absolutely, because, post-retirement lifestyle and social changes are just as much a part of the retirement process, right? So, Frank, I've got to ask you, where we taught that, planning for retirement is all about money, there are other factors to consider, right? An individual's health and wellness. So, how can or should one account for potential health and wellness challenges as part of the retirement planning strategy?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Because often when I engage with people closer to retirement, they typically make the mistake of zoning in on the finances. Of course, that's quite important. But I always share three things, Alishia. The first one is retirement is a process. So in other words, getting to retirement, it's a process. You don't wake up one day and boom, I'm retired. What am I going to do? So the first thing that I say is acknowledge that in advance for your organization what the retirement age is. Let's say I know, for example, at Nedbank, some people are at 60, some people are at 62. 5 years before that, you need to start planning, reducing debt, doing the finances, right? But more importantly, to zero in on the well-being and the health that you are leading us into, Alishia, is that one needs to ask themselves, how will I keep myself busy in retirement? Because that which was consuming a lot of my time, 8, 10, 14 hours a day is gone. If an individual doesn't do that, what we know from research is that it doesn't bode well for mental health. You and I can agree that work gives us purpose, work gives us meaning, work essentially structures our life. So a big milestone such as retirement, and you haven't thought about how are you going to fill in that gap, it doesn't bode well for mental health. That's one aspect. The second important aspect is physical health. You're spot on. So mental health is important. What am I going to do? Meaning and purpose. And physical health. And here we are not talking about running comrades. We're not talking running marathons. Research tells us that in retirement and building up to retirement, it's quite important to be active for the reasons that Bridget has mentioned, right? The fact that as you get older, you're just starting having some issues with your health in general. It's just part of that getting old. So if you keep fit and you have a routine, that really bodes well for medical expenses, but for mental health. Finally, something that's misunderstood often, social well-being, Alishia. You do not wake up at 60, 62 and say, hello, I'm now going to be able to make friends. It ain't going to happen. This is not necessary school, where you say, hello, can you please be my friend? No. If you have not been keeping a decent social life, we know from research, you're going to struggle in retirement, because to fill in that time that I've spoken about, you're going to need friends. Doesn't mean quantity. It means quality relationship, and it's just a sense that I still matter in the world.
Absolutely. And Alishia, sorry, if I can also just weigh in on this, and thanks, Dr. Frank, there. So really, yes, money is key, but really getting to know how to make money work for you is even more liberating. So if I think about, for seniors, so for example, understanding the impact of inflation on your investment is really important, because what does inflation do? Inflation reduces the value of your money over time, meaning that the purchasing power of your savings would decrease. So for seniors, and as Dr. Frank also alluded to, for seniors, this is especially important as healthcare costs are often rising way faster than general inflation. So really continuing to save and invest in inflation-beating assets, seniors can also protect themselves from these rising costs and ensure that their savings maintain the value throughout retirement.
Bridget, so we've, spoken about and given this long list of the good decisions one can make along the way, right, on this path towards retirement. What are the biggest mistakes you see people making in their 50s so that we can extract perhaps a few lessons from that and caution against?
A great question. And I think Dr. Frank also already touched on some of them. I think the first one I would think about is overspending. So I think really living beyond your means can really create financial stress. That's the first one. The second one I would speak about that is very important is really ignoring financial planning. And I think thinking about financial planning is daunting, but understanding that there's help out there, is one of the key components. So people should not make the mistake of ignoring financial planning. The third one I would speak to is really delaying retirement savings and just stopping to save. For me, I think that is also one of the big mistakes. And probably finally, feeling old, I think also maybe a mistake. I think just adopting that mindset that, they're too old to start new ventures, to learn new things. Always, I think what I would like to say is always remember to reward yourself. So whether that means, a movie night every now and then, treating your family, or indulging in that hobby. In fact, finding ways to reward yourself for good financial behaviors like saving diligently or spending wisely is actually essential, and I think good for health.
Absolutely. Well, Frank, if our viewers need then a bit more guidance, advice, hand-holding, because the runway, that they've left themselves is short, a quick opportunity for a punt here. Best port of call at Nedbank.
Yeah. So I think for me, like what Bridget is saying, anyone finding themselves in this situation, really the first thing they do, if I think of our various units within Nedbank and what we do for seniors, I would really just put forward, even if someone has a financial advisor already, for me, Alishia, just coming in, getting to work with a Nedbank financial advisor and just saying, please check for me, where am I? Am I on the right track? I'm thinking of retiring in George, outside Gauteng, in KZN. Just please help me to see, am I on the right track? Because often just getting an independent pair of eyes from even your usual financial advisor, if someone has, it does really help, and it reduces that stress and anxiety and makes someone plan better. So Nedbank Financial Planners is, for me, the first port of call to assess as a senior, where am I on my retirement journey?
Frank, Bridget, a pleasure catching up with you both today. Bridget,
thank you for having us here.
Thank you for having us.
Is Executive for Strategy and New Business Development for Consumer Banking, and Frank Magwegwe is Executive for Financial Wellness and Advisory, both at Nedbank.